Hey Skulls and Shadows, welcome back to the podcast. Today is a very special day here in the Twilight world because it marks the anniversary, June 30th. Our very first episode of podcast from the Twilight world was released a year ago today. And thank you to everybody who supported us through that time and has had just such positive and reassuring comments. So many of you have reached out and just said very kind words, and for that I thank you. In return, I'm hoping you enjoy today's episode. It is dedicated to the live experience, no matter what decade. We have 5 different bards with very different and exciting, diverse tales, stories from around the world, 6 different countries. But I really just hope you enjoy it, and if you haven't been to Blind Guardian or Demons and Wizards before, this should serve as at least something to whet the appetite. And if you have, hopefully this will rekindle some of the magic that you felt. A huge thank you to everyone who came on the show. Mark Frostenas, Janin Balkan, Mario Bernardo, Ofer Zavani, and of course Luthien from Blind Guardian Memes and the Bards Tavern. Thank you to everybody for sharing their tales. There was so much content between all these 5 individuals that I actually couldn't fit it all in one episode. So this is the first of 2. Keep an eye out for that. That airs in July. But without further ado, welcome, my friends. Hello, guardians of the blind and travelers in time, and welcome. I, as always, am your humble bard. Welcome. Today we are honored by a special guest, Mario, Mark, Janan, Ulfer, Delana. Welcome to the podcast. Where do you hail from?
I'm from Turkey, Istanbul, actually, the most crowded city of Turkey.
From Brazil, São Paulo, South America, and a long time Blind Guardian fan, as almost everyone here.
I'm from Sweden, but I'm currently in Portugal. I moved here 1 week ago.
I am from New York.
From Jerusalem, Israel.
Wow.
I think that's the town, the city that's mentioned most in Blind Guardian's song.
So how long have you been a Blind Guardian fan then? How many years would you say?
I think my first, I think since 1998. That's when Nightfall came out, more or less.
Yeah.
Before that, they were like my introduction to metal, actually.
I did buy Follow the Blind, but I remember that Somewhere Far Beyond has been released, so it was either 92 or 93.
Wow.
But exactly when, I don't know. But I do remember that I was at the record store in 95 on the day when Imaginations was released. So somewhere between 92 and 95, not exactly when, I don't know.
I would say, well, now that my birthday just passed, 11 years.
Actually, I've known Blind Guardian since 2004 or 2005, because I remember I was at high school. Most probably it was the last year of high school, and one of my friends was a very big Tolkien fan, and she made a mixed CD for me, and it included like 6 or 7 Blind Guardian songs too. So that was the first time I heard Blind Guardian. And those songs were actually the only songs for a long time for me. I mean, for some reason, I didn't dig into their catalog back then. So it took me more years to become a Blind Guardian fan. I mean, I like their music, but I didn't dig deeper. So my fandom is relatively new, maybe like 5 or 6 years to become a diehard fan. So I missed a lot, unfortunately. I missed their shows in Turkey. That's why I regret. For Demons and Wizards, I mean, it was around maybe 3 or 4 years.
Well, I'm 36 right now, and I've been a fan since I was 12, so 24 years.
How many times have you had the opportunity to either see Blind Guardian or Demons and Wizards in some sort of capacity?
If you would like funny, I've never technically seen Blind Guardian in New York. I've only seen them, Blind Guardian, 3 times. Twice in Worcester, Massachusetts, and then in Barcelona, Spain at a festival. And Demons and Wizards was 6 times.
Well, we're pretty lucky here. We got Blind Guardian one tour prior to North America. I guess they started playing North America in A Night at the Opera or A Twist in the Myth. But here in Brazil, they started with in '98 with Nightfall. It was I was a fan about 2 years before that, so I consider myself pretty lucky. And so I've been seeing them live since Nightfall. Never missed a tour.
What a tour to start out on too.
Yes.
Like so many changes. That's so awesome, man. So I mean, I guess the real question then is, with a ton of shows, I guess, what's the number of shows?
Yeah. So far, it's 18 concerts. 18 Blind Guardian and 3 Demons and Wizards, but I have a bad number of 2 canceled concerts that I got the ticket. I was supposed to be there, but they were canceled, both in Brazil.
The last show I've been to was in Tel Aviv, 2017. First was in Athens, 2 shows, 2 nights in a row in 2002. And in the middle, there was Milan in 2006.
Wow. So you've been all over following them. That's really cool.
I had no choice because they didn't come to Israel.
Only once, last year, not Blind Guardian, actually. I saw Demons and Wizards live last year in Greece. It was a very good experience.
So jealous.
First show was in Hamburg in '95. Then at the Christmas Metal meeting in '96 was the second show. Luckily, after they had released Forgotten Tales, they did a small club tour in Scandinavia, and then I saw 3 shows on that tour. But usually I try to catch 2 to 4 shows maybe every tour and see them at different places.
That's so awesome. So how many shows would you say now, that's a long time to be a fan. How many shows now would you say you've seen Blind Guardian or its members in?
Wow, that's I need to start calculating, but it's around 25, I guess, something like that.
Wow.
Probably.
So 25 shows, that's a lot of shows to choose from, and obviously, like you said, you've seen them multiple times on tour. If you had to pick your favorite show out of all of that, which one would you say is your favorite?
The first one. That was special. What you have to have in mind is that in '95, heavy metal was considered dead. So especially in Scandinavia back then, the only territories where we knew that people still listened to metal, that was probably Germany and maybe Greece. So have not been to a real metal concert for a couple of years and then go to Docks in Hamburg as an 18-year-old kid. That was terrific. And Hansi was still playing bass, and the atmosphere was fantastic.
It's crazy that you're even pre-Oliver. Your fandom is deep. That's really cool. So can you kind of take us to that moment, your first show, what was the atmosphere like? What was the crowd? What was the venue like?
The venue at Hamburg, that's located in the middle of Reeperbahn in Hamburg. So first of all, being there as an 18-year-old kid, it was a Sunday, I remember. So the only things that were open was the sex shops. So that's what we were doing for a couple of hours before the show. But then going to the venue, and Sweden back in those days, if you had long hair and was wearing like patches on your jackets, people were laughing at you. And then going and see the line outside Docks with all the mullets and all the patches on people's backs, that was great. And people were really, really into it. Back in those days also, maybe Blind Guardian hadn't had a big breakthrough, so it was the real core heavy metal fans at that show.
Well, the first one is always one of the most special because it's the first time you see them. But the third time, 2002, August 10. I remember it's August 10 because it's Hansi's birthday. And for me, it's not the set list or the concert itself, but it was very special because when first I got to bring a lot of friends in it. It was about like 20 friends together. They were all pumped because I talked so much about, we're going to see Blind Guardian. And they knew how big of a fan I was already back then. But also I remember when the show was about to start, like my heart was racing so much. I felt like I was going to pass away, like, oh my God, I'm going to see them. Like, was the biggest experience in my life was about to happen. Yeah, it was a place called Via Funchal. Unfortunately, it's no longer there. But it was a place that all my favorite concerts happened there. Even am I right? Probably. I believe even Bruce Dixon played his live concert there. That ended up recording a live CD, and it was a Scream for Me Brazil, I believe. And all great metal concerts happened there. So it was a great place for metal in general. Well, it was that magical atmosphere. It always happens in Blind Guardian concerts, no matter where in the world you're watching them. But it always feels like something really big is about to happen, and it does. They deliver that. It's not like you're just feeling it's going to happen. It actually happens, and everyone turns into like a huge family. We're all just happy to be there, and the band is so friendly, so they're just as happy as us to be there, and that feeling, it's amazing. It's I've been to, I won't say a lot of concerts, but I've seen a few bands here and there, and you can feel the difference when it's a Blind Guardian concert. It's really something magical.
It was 2019, I mean last year, of course, July the 6th, and it was Sunday. I clearly remember it. It was a small festival. It was not a big organization. The stage was relatively small and the area was small, so it was very intimate. And I was in the front line, so I saw the whole thing. It was in Greece, the island Crete, and the city Hania. It was a small city and a very ancient city. It is a very beautiful place. I recommend everyone to visit there. And the festival area just was by the sea. It was very close to the sea. It was an open air thing. And it was an old Venetian castle or a watchtower, something like that. So it was very historical place. It was very special, and the view was great. We could see the sea. I mean, the band was playing by the sea. It was amazing. Actually, it was a 2-night festival, but for the second night, the Demons and Wizards was the headliner, of course. And before that, there was Rotting Christ on stage. And the crowd was very energetic, and Greek people are very similar to Turkish people. We come from the same Mediterranean culture. We are very excited and ambitious about music and dancing. So it was a great crowd, and I met one Greek guy from Bards Tavern before I went to Greece. So we met there, Dimitri. If he watches, hi.
Hi, Dimitri.
Yes. So we had a small chat during the Rotting Christ set, and then I went back to the front row because I said to him that I want to see the bands closely. So I was alone. By the way, my mother also was with me at the festival because we were traveling together, and she didn't want to be outside all alone. And she said that I want to see the concert too, and she attended the concert, and she actually liked it. She liked Hansi's voice, and especially she liked Fiddler on the Green a lot. So it was a very special experience, very different experience for me. And the crowd was great. They were singing all the songs together.
It's a tough choice. Like, music-wise, I think Milan was the best. That's because I got to listen to And Then There Was Silence.
Lucky dog.
Which I was hoping for in 2002, but they weren't performing it back then. And I was hoping for it in Israel as well, and they didn't do that there either. So, and that's my favorite song still, I think. I guess the last show would be the best one to describe because it's fresh. The
First
one
and
before that
last.
was 11 years before, so I actually didn't check the exact date, but it was summer 2017. It was actually extremely hot outside. I felt sorry for them to experience Israel in such a bad weather. Very hot and very moist in Tel Aviv. I think all the people in the crowd were thrilled to have Blind Guardian for the first time in Israel. Like, I was actually the most pleasant surprise for me from that show was the crowd, because I was afraid maybe there are not so many Blind Guardian fans in Israel. Maybe they wouldn't know the lyrics. Maybe they will like disappoint the band somehow. But they were actually really great, and I felt like the intensity of excitement of people that waited for that moment for a really long time. And they knew the lyrics and sang very well, actually. It wasn't an outdoor show, it was indoors. Pretty large venue, and it was sold out, of course. Yeah, I've heard some people say that I was surprised to hear about Blind Guardian fans they didn't know and they didn't come to the show, and they asked them why. How could they miss that? And they thought that, okay, I'll buy tickets on the day of the show, and they found out it's sold out months before.
I mean, there was in New York City with Demons and Wizards, Matt Barlow came out and sang I Died for You with Hansi. So it's two of my favorite singers. I might be a little bit biased. Yeah, September 5th of 2019, because that was the Thursday, and that was the last of the whole North American tour before Frog Power. So that was the last day with Tia and Lizzie Borden. It was so, it was the whole last tour day excitement. It was kind of funny because the day before in Worcester, overall, Marcus had sort of ran into me a few times beforehand, waiting to go into the shows. You're so early, because I wanted to be up front. He had made the joke and that, you're again too early, and then he went off to the Nintendo store. I had heard that Matt Barlow was there. At that point, that was my fourth show, and it was still never boring to me. Even though it was always the same set list from every band and doing the same thing, it was always it felt like something new and magical, to quote their tour tagline. I actually got to see some friends of mine that I haven't seen in a long time at that show too, so it was really exciting to find them again. And they knew I had been following the tour a little bit.
For you, what was the most distinct thing you remember about that?
Actually, I remember one specific moment very well because I captured it with my phone, because I was holding my phone somewhere down. I mean, I was recording some of the songs. During Tear Down the Wall, I was screaming so loud, the chorus part, Tear Down the Wall part. Hansi noticed me and he was looking at me and he smiled because I was going crazy. And there were two other women next to me. They were just playing with their phones and they were chatting. They weren't actually listening to the songs. So I was the only one next to them. I was crazy, and Hansi noticed me and he smiled at me. So I captured that moment on the video. It's so funny.
I remember that we thought that Majesty, they played almost on double speed. That was so cool. There is a bootleg CD from that show called Imaginations from Hamburg. So maybe that's also why this concert has stuck so well in my mind, since I've had the possibility to re-listen to it several times.
Matt Barlow coming out on stage and everybody getting so excited. I don't know if you saw the video that I posted where all of a sudden the camera kind of looked like it went up for a second. It was because everybody sort of rushed to try to get close to him.
Well, apart from other concerts, it has to be that was Hans' birthday, so everybody sang him happy birthday, both in English and in Portuguese. And it was really nice for him to schedule a concert in his own birthday. It was like a special day for him, and he was there doing what he likes the most. So for us, was great. And for me to have all these friends together was so awesome. To hear songs like Bard songs and everybody singing together, or Valhalla and everybody jumping, it was a really memorable day, memorable night actually.
I really remember I was quite close to the stage, and I saw like a bunch of people that were really extremely happy and singing along everything right next to me. And it's not a specific moment, but like it wasn't my first Blind Guardian show, so it wasn't like the first show experience, which is very different. Back then I was extremely excited. I waited for the band before. I was shaking when I saw them. It was like, and I was in high school, so it was a very different time for me. So now I was really impressed by the crowd, actually, and I enjoyed like the band having fun, and I was maybe in a somehow patriotic way, I was hoping to please the band, that the crowd will please them, and I was hoping that they will be surprised for the best and will want to come back. Like, and I felt like it happened. Like the magic happened. The crowd was great, and the band enjoyed. Maybe that's because I'm like grown up now, and I don't enjoy it like a child anymore. I think about like I want them to come back, some responsible grown up that cares for the adult fans.
If there was one song that really captured the spirit of that night, which one would you say that is?
Of just New York or in general?
Of New York specifically, that one night.
As always, everybody goes crazy when Valhalla plays. So there was that. But being able to have seen I Died For You sung by both of them is still just like, oh my god, that was a thing.
Just sums up the whole night so well, eh?
Yeah, because I feel like everybody died that night a little bit.
I mean, hearing the Bard song live for the first time and having, I don't know, the capacity of dogs, maybe 1,500 people, 1,500, and hearing them sing along for the first time, I mean, you can't describe that feeling. For those of you that watches this and have never seen Blind Guardian live, especially in a club environment, you have something really cool to look forward to.
Well, they played a lot of cool songs back then. It was Night at the Opera tour, so they played, I believe, the Soul Forge and what is the other? Punishment Divine, two of my favorite from that album. But and also Banished from Sanctuary, which is one of my longtime favorites. Like as an opener, like it always makes everybody so happy, so hyped about what they're playing next. But in this specific concert, I would have to say Bard songs probably. I gotta be honest, I'm not that much of a fan of Bard songs, even though it's awesome. But since I started listening to Blind Guardian with Imagination, so I've always been a Past and Future Secret fan. Like for me, a Past and Future Secret is my favorite Blind Guardian ballad. But to see everybody together singing the Bard songs, seeing all my friends there. Back then, we had lighters, so it wasn't like cell phones yet. But see all those lighters up and people singing together and holding your friends. It's a great memory. It's a great memory.
Well, the most special song was Curse of Fëanor, which they don't do often. They did All the Imaginations, which is actually not my favorite album. I know many people like it best. I like it a lot, but still I was preferring like I said, Wheel of Time, for example. But let's see. I remember enjoying Sacred Worlds a lot.
Another one they don't really break
which is
out
also not my favorite song, actually. Not in my top favorites, but in the show it was really great, and so was Majesty.
Of course, Fiddler on the Green is something special, but Beneath These Waves was also, the crowd was very ambitious about that song. Also, Tear Down the Wall. Actually, the whole trilogy from the first album, Tear Down the Wall, Gallows Fall, and My Last Sunrise, the crowd was crazy during those three songs. And of course, Blood on My Hands. And it's one of my favorites, Demons and Wizards song. Of course, Valhalla was something.
Of course, it's a classic, right?
Classic, yeah. The crowd was singing all over again, the chorus part. So Hansi had to stop the crowd at one point. Classic.
Would you say that's the high point of the concert? Like, as far as the crowd goes, like, was that when the crowd really exploded, or what was the first moment you remember where the crowd just went nuts?
They went nuts from the Inquisition intro. As I said earlier, I mean, the people that were there, they were so dedicated. Even it was a Sunday and people maybe weren't as drunk as they could have been. It was still like full speed also from the audience point of view. So really cool.
They were insane from the beginning. Like even waiting for the show, there were people that were older than me. Like one of them was explaining to. He was telling me how he was talking to a coworker of his who was about 20 years old, give or take, who didn't understand. Why do you need this day off? I don't get what's so great about a concert. He said, think about your age. That's how long I've been waiting to see them.
Well, I guess, mirror, mirror. They kept the energy still up, even at the end. Yeah, but I remember Mirror, Mirror, having the crowd singing along very loudly and, really enjoying themselves. And they knew it's going to end, I guess, after that. But it was a long show. It was 2 hours, I think.
In Banished from Sanctuary, and of course Mirror Mirror, but then Valhalla is always the song, and it's incredible because when you read about it, it was just like I believe Paranoid when Black Sabbath wrote it. It was just, oh hey, we have to finish the album, so let's just write the song, and they couldn't believe that it turned out to this huge amazing classic, and when they play Valhalla, the everybody just jumped and was so happy. And I had even a funny memory of that because I'm not a ladies man, per se. Thank God I'm married, so I don't have to
No need to impress, hey?
Yeah, exactly. I just need to take a shower to know. But I hope my wife doesn't listen to this. But at the time I was pretty single, and there was this gorgeous girl with long blonde hair, pretty eyes. And when Valhalla started, she just hooked on me, like, and 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 I was like, oh my god, I have this chance. I could feel it, like what she wanted, but there was Blind Guardian, and and then I just had to let her go and jump into my friends because it was Valhalla.
That's just math, though, Mario. There's
Yeah,
4 versus
exactly.
1, right?
She couldn't compete against them.
Who can, though? I mean, the bards are pretty irresistible, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, it was not the first moment, but it was I think, like a climax. It was the top point. I don't know. The crowd wasn't stopping, and Hansi shushed them at the end. And I think he knows the Greek crowd very well. And actually, Blind Guardian also played at Hanya Rock Festival before, so they know the crowd. And the crowd was like talking to Hansi in between songs. I mean, for instance, Hansi was introducing Beneath These Waves, and one of the guys was telling that it is beneath these waves. I mean, so they were interacting with Hansi. So, I mean, it was very intimate. It was nothing like I ever seen before. I've been to lots of shows, but it was very intimate and special.
What would you say the aftermath is like for you as a fan, having experienced that, or like just concerts in general after that? Did it change anything?
Well, it changed, first of all, my view of the Israeli crowd, which I didn't know how much they love Blind Guardian. I used to be in like a Israeli forum of Blind Guardian fans, and it had like 5 people. So I was afraid that maybe the crowd won't be as hardcore as I thought, as it proved to be, actually. About Blind Guardian, the aftermath, I believe they will come back now. In the past, I think, I don't want to, maybe I shouldn't say it. Why didn't they come before? I've heard that maybe one of the band members, I wouldn't mention who, was afraid of like the safety, like terror attacks in Israel, which they don't happen nowadays. But there were like harder times.
Actually, it was I mean, I don't want to exaggerate it, but it was a not life-changing event, but I changed my view regarding to live shows. I mean, I've been to like Pearl Jam concert, Bon Jovi. I mean, I saw many big bands, but they were maybe big crowds. I mean, they were like stadium concerts. Maybe that's why Demons and Wizards show was very intimate, and maybe I'm a very big fan, and I was too influenced by it in a good way. And I don't know, I couldn't sleep that night. I remember that because after the show I met Hansi and Marcus too. I mean, it was something extra for me.
Well, 1 year later, I started a fan sign in tribute to Blind Guardian. Well, I guess that says it all. No, but it had a huge impact. As I said, I mean, people were more or less laughing at you in Sweden back then. Didn't really, I think things turned around a little bit after Hammerfall had released their debut album, Glory to the Brave, and traditional metal, power metal, whatever you want to call it, had like a small revival. But those years in between, like from 92, 93 until Glory to the Brave, I mean, we were outcasts. But still, I mean, being able to go to Hamburg and see those bands that didn't tour Scandinavia at that time, of course, that had a huge impact.
Like, the days do sort of blur for me. It's just, I would say New York really stuck out the most because that's where I grew up. And it was finally being able to see a version of Blind Guardian play in New York.
Well, it's another strange story. It happened in 2007. I was with a girlfriend at the time. It wasn't the Valhalla chick; it was a different one. But we were at the concert, and from 2003 to 2007, I had to wait another 5 years for that, now to see them again. And it happened that we had like this stupid fight right in the end. It was like during Bard songs, and then they played Mirror Mirror, and I felt like, oh my god, I can't believe that I waited 5 years to have a fight right in this day. And like the stars were already aligned. I just couldn't notice that because I was on vacation from work, and I had the money. I was still living with my parents. I didn't have to pay anything. I was just saving money. And Blind Guardian was still touring Brazil. So we had, I believe, more than 3 concerts in the following days. One of those was the canceled one. One of the canceled ones. the one that I met them at the airport. But I was like, oh my god, I don't care. I'll go to those concerts. And I went there all by myself. I didn't have the tickets. I just bought the flying tickets. Actually, I just bought the first flying ticket to the first city. And okay, I'll just go somehow to the other concerts. I had to look up. I've never been to those places before. It was my first time there too. So I had to look up for hotels or something like that. But the best thing happened that that girlfriend we talked the other day. We were back and everything was fine. And she told me that a friend in common of us was already doing the same thing. And I talked to him, and he said, yeah, I'm going to that place was Porto Alegre. And I said, I'm going there too. So, okay, can we meet there? And then we met, and he introduced me to another friend that was doing that. And since we became this trio, and every time Blind Guardian tours, we have to go there. We don't care. We just, okay, we just, and it's kind of bizarre because he used to live like 3 blocks from here. And we normally just talk through internet and stuff like that, but we're not that close normally. But whenever a tour is happening, we're like, oh my god, let's do it, and we're always together, for those concerts. So that happened. I got frustrated because one concert didn't go that well, and I said, just like that Gone with the Wind, I'll never starve again. I'll never miss a Blind Guardian concert again.
With your well of knowledge, with the opportunities of being able to see them, what kind of wisdom would you impart on someone who hasn't had the opportunity to see Blind Guardian live? How does it differ? Why is it special? Why should they work so hard to do it?
Yeah, well, it's an unique experience. Like even now, it always feels like it's the first time I'm seeing them. Even at times when I just saw them the last night, like I just saw them, and I'm going to see them in a different city, and it feels unique all the time, and all this you're there. It's a magical feeling. We talk a lot about how magical their song is, but it feels like a ritual. Like the magical circle is there. Like it's a ritual for everyone to be happy, to be glad. They are there doing their best. You can see that Hansi is doing his best to sing the best he can. To deliver. All the band is there. Like delivering their best. They're not. You can feel their love back to you. Even if you're like in the front row, and also one great thing, if you manage to get to the front row, you will see that they always are looking to you. They're happy to see you. They're not just looking in a blank point, whatever. They're there. You manage to to talk. I will say, like, with them, like you will do something and then they will do something back, and they acknowledge you're there. Everyone. So everyone leaves the concert feeling better, feeling more happy about it. So it's an amazing experience. I would say I've been to some awesome concerts in my life. I've been to some pretty special moments, but Blind Guardian is the best.
I mean, especially if you think that the albums are containing too much stuff or being overproduced or whatever, and you like your metal more simple, well, then go and watch them live, because they can never recreate what they are recording on an album today. And I'm not a big fan of live albums myself. I don't know what a lot of people are, and I totally can understand it, especially from that point of view. If you want to have it more like rough, and Blind Guardian live is definitely more rough than on the albums. So it's almost two different experiences. Still, both are great. So that's the cool thing about it.
I hope someday they can see Blind Guardian or Demons and Wizards too. Actually, I haven't seen Blind Guardian myself either, so I'm looking forward to see them live, maybe in Turkey or anywhere else after this pandemic situation, of course. So maybe we can meet at one of the shows, hopefully.
Don't expect anything, because it really does change. Like, even when the show is going to be the exact same set list every night, it's going to be a different experience every time you actually witness them on stage. There's going to be different crowds. Then, obviously the announcements are going to be different, but it's very nice to also get to talk to people while you're waiting and meet other fans who then become your friends afterwards. But definitely it is totally worth any price that you would have to pay to go see it. And it's, I don't want to say once in a lifetime opportunity, but it's going to be something you'll remember for your lifetime.
People who haven't seen Blind Guardian, well, if you're going to see them, go over the lyrics once more. It will be, it's much more fun when you know what to sing with them. And just be prepared to enjoy a lot, I guess. It's not necessary to study the set list, I guess. Like,
I'm with you.
You can guess
the magic will be there.
Play, but yeah, even if they don't play the songs you want, you will probably enjoy, because they know what works well in concerts, and they do it really well. So
well said, man. Well said.
Yeah, and anyone, I think, any Blind Guardian fan should see them at least once. It's a very nice experience, like to see the people behind the music. And how they enjoy their own music and the crowd. It's also a very nice social experience. I remember in Milan, I met like people I didn't know, and we sat to drink beer together, and it was really nice. And in Israel, I've met so many friends that I didn't even think about that they're going to the concerts. Like, I have like 2 friends here, 2 friends there that they like Blind Guardian, and together it was like 30 people I knew. It was really nice experience.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This closes another chapter in podcast from the Twilight World. Thank you so much for watching, Bards. If you liked what you saw, please check us out either on Spotify, hit like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, wherever you are. Thanks for listening. And with that, let's leave it to the memories and kiss the wind goodbye.